I'm gonna do my best not to show y'all my food while I eat, but let's get right into it. Hello. My name is Igho. Welcome back to Igho Initiative, where we create self-care systems to help us live our best lives and support our communities without sacrificing our health. If this is your first time on my channel, welcome. Again, my name is Igho. I am a poet, community educator, wellness consultant, owner of this platform, Igho Initiative. My chief aim is to support people with everyday strategies to prioritize their wellness and be an example and proof of what it is like to do so. If you have been here for some time, of course, welcome back to another Wellness Wednesday chat. I am continuing along with the series, The Cycle of Self-Development. As you can see, I'm in a different spot in my tiny home. I did a poll on Instagram to see if folks were interested in seeing an apartment tour of my tiny little house. I've shown you guys little corners of it so far, but look out for a full video coming soon. Also, something new, you can see a giant watermelon in front of me for the second video in a row. I'm actually going to do a slight watermelon mukbang or mukbang, however way you say it, while I chat with you all today. This is my first ever mukbang, so this is going to be interesting, but let's get right into it. Over the last few weeks, I've been talking about the cycle of self-development. Starting in itself, it's kind of difficult deciding that, there's things that you need to change about your life and you want to start prioritizing your wellness more. It's hard to balance all of that with the day-to-day life and the rest of the things that you are doing. That is what I talked about in the first video, understanding your learning style and being a good student of your journey. So you get into the swing of things and then you kind of fall off. So then I shared with you systems help you stay more consistent. And the first system I shared with you last week was your self-care systems. Using the be, do, have framework, getting clear on who exactly you want to be, how you want to show up, what are your values, also understanding what is required of that person. So the example I gave was if you want to be an entrepreneur, what does an entrepreneur do? What is required of them? And then you can have the things. So once you figure out what that framework looks like, plug in your life into the framework, then you have to think about what you need in order to make that framework work for you. Self-care systems are the things that you need in order for that framework to really support you. And if you remember, the definition for self-care was the right and responsibility to yourself and then your larger community to know yourself, know better, and do better. So once you understand the framework, you plug it in. Once you figure out what you need, use those resources, those tools, those practices to be consistent and do better and show up better as that person that you want to be. So there goes the 2 steps of the cycle of development. The next step is that, you figured it out. It was difficult, but you understood your learning styles. You got your self-care systems impact. You're consistent. But then somehow the things that you're doing doesn't seem to be working. So your goal was to be an entrepreneur. You have all these self-care systems in place. You're doing all these things, but somehow your goals aren't coming to fruition. You aren't being that person that you want to be. It's just not, and maybe you technically are, but it's not at the level of success that you want. What is happening? If that is you, where you feel like you are kind of stuck in your cycle of development, you've done all of the right things, you listen to all of the self-care gurus, you've watched all of my videos, you literally applied all the things that I've shared, but you don't seem to be growing. You seem like you're stuck or you're stagnant, or things just aren't working exactly the way you wanted them to work. If that is the case for you, then you might need to check your communication system. So that's the next system that I'm going to be talking about today. Y'all know I like to define things. So what is communication? Communication, in layman's terms, easy definition, is just an exchange of information. According to Merriam-Webster, though, so give me a second, I'm just going to read off my computer. Communication is the act or process of using words, sounds, signs, or behaviors to express or exchange information or to express your ideas, thoughts, feelings, etc. to someone else. Again, layman's terms, just quick and easy, it's an exchange of information. That includes music, what you are watching, your actual everyday conversation. That also includes what you say to and about yourself. Right? What do I mean what you say to yourself? So your little thoughts that go through your head. And when I say about yourself, is also when you're describing yourself, when you're talking to other people. People could give you compliments. You're like, oh, this whole thing. Or you talk about your business and you're like, oh, I have this little side hustle going on. I have this little business or whatever. That you are communicating something to yourself your subconscious, and about yourself in those moments. So thinking about those things as well, all of those are part of your communication. What does that have to do with your self-development? Well, here's the thing. There's a scripture that talks about, I'm going to paraphrase, evil communications corrupts good manners. So if, for example, you say you're a woman of God, right? You dress modestly, you do all of these things, yet you're listening to music that degrades women, that's literally talking about, like, I'm going to do all these things to her, look at her backside, and da-da-da-da-da-da. Make it make sense. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between, oh, she's just listening to music, or this is not what she wants. So then you start in your mind just like, I want to wear this today. So then you start thinking that stuff like that is okay. If you like the way you dress, by all means continue to dress that way. I'm just giving an example. So for myself, I don't listen to that type of music anymore. When I listen to that type of music, I used to dress like that. And so that was in alignment with who I was. But it's no longer in alignment with who I am. So I'm not going to listen to that music because evil communications corrupt good manners. Or you are looking to get married, but you're watching a bunch of divorce court. You know what I mean? So just being mindful of how you're talking, the things that you're listening to, the books that you are reading. I know some people might think, how is music evil? People talk about music uplifts your soul and I just like the beat and all of these things. Again, your subconscious does not know the difference, and it won't take but long until you start operating in that way, or the results in your life become that thing that you are listening to, watching, paying attention to, because you were in agreement with it. There's also scriptures that's evidence that music does something to your spirit, aka your subconscious or your conscious mind. And so it's really all connected. So I'm telling you, if you notice that you are kind of stuck in your growth, in your self-development, really check what you are watching, what you are listening to, how you are talking to yourself, the conversations that you're having with other people. Again, if you are like, you want to be an entrepreneur, but you're looking for advice from people who work 9 to 5. Oh, like that's all they know. They know that they work for somebody else. So how is that advice going to be profitable to you? So how are you having conversations about work life when you want to focus on being an entrepreneur? How are you having conversations about, even if you are in that job currently, why are you having conversations about only the job if you're not at the job, when that is not where you're headed? Another thing that people might think with that example is that's just so extreme. It doesn't have to be that extra. And people don't like to think of things in absolutes in terms of good versus evil. Again, the scripture that I quoted, evil communications corrupt good manners. Well, I mean, there's another scripture I'm going to quote that talks about good versus evil. I read the Bible. I believe in it. And so if you don't believe the Bible, which I usually reference here and there, this might not be the channel for you. If you're like, there's no absolutes or whatever, can music just be music? Hey, if it's working out for you, be my guest. I believe in what I believe in. If you say you believe in God and the scripture isn't resonating with you, then that's on you. Take it up with him, you know? Again, if things aren't working out in terms of your self-development journey, make sure you check your communication. What are you listening to? What are you watching? Who are you talking to? Who are you allowing to communicate with you? How are you communicating with them? Whether it be in terms of who you say you are, what you are doing, and how you are doing it. And it really just starts with the mindset thing. You have to decide, you have to want the lifestyle that you say you want. You have to want to be who you say you are bad enough for you to make those quote unquote sacrifices. And they're not sacrifices if you're really intentional about who you want to be and really about who you say you are, because then maybe you're just not about that life, because it still works in the framework. If you say you are something, but you, one, don't believe that you are that thing yet, and so you can't envision that, so you are still stuck in terms of your communication in who you once were, then how are you going to do the things that are required of that person? To make it less vague, if you want to become an entrepreneur, right? And You're not conversing with other entrepreneurs. You're not reading books about entrepreneurship. You're not watching shows. You're not on YouTube. You're not investing in a coach. You're not hiring somebody to support you and teach you what you need to learn. You're not looking for mentors and investing time, money, energy into that relationship. But instead, you are just complaining about the job that you're currently in and how much you hate it. Keep talking about that job. You are most likely going to stay in that job. There's lots of people who hate their job and they've been talking about how much they hate their job for 15 years. Your subconscious does not tell the difference between I hate this job versus I love this job. Your subconscious here, this job, this job, this job. So then your subconscious thinks, okay, we want to remain at this job. And then again, if you aren't thinking in that mindset, you're still at that old job, then you won't be able to do the things that are required of an entrepreneur. You won't be thinking in terms of, should I be waking up earlier and maybe working on that idea that I've been thinking about? You won't be asking the right questions because you're busy filling your mind, exchanging information to do with that job that you hate so much and not your business idea. All right, I think I've made the point pretty clear on that. So what does that look like in terms of auditing your communication and then making sure that you are curating your own communication systems? Because again, what are systems? A set of things that work together, that are part of a mechanism that work together. So your communication system is how you are talking to and about yourself, what you are reading, watching, listening to, the conversations that you're having, the circles that you're in, the people that you're exchanging ideas and information with. All of those things are part of your communication system. So how do you curate communication systems that support you so that you don't feel stuck in your self-development journey? Because that's the cycle that we're in right now, right? We are in the cycle where we are stuck and we're stagnant, we're not growing, nothing's happening. And I suggested that you check your communication systems. Once you check it, what do you do? Here's what you do. First thing you want to do is you want to pay attention to all of the ways that you're communicating on a daily basis. Even when you don't think you're communicating, you are communicating. Again, like I said, your thoughts included in that, your body language in conversation, even if you're not saying anything, that's nonverbal communication. Also, if you're in a group of people talking about something and you're still not talking, and you're as still as possible, whatever they're talking about, the fact that you are there, you can hear what they're saying, means that you are in agreement with it. So if you're not in agreement with it, excuse yourself or change the conversation. This is how people get stuck in gossiping, because they're just like, oh, people are just talking. And I've definitely, quote unquote, fallen victim to that, where it's just a group of women talking and I'm just sitting here, I'm not contributing to the conversation, so I can't be at fault. No, you were in agreement with it if you are sitting there. So that's another thing to think about. Pay attention to the people that are around you, the conversations that they're having. Ask yourself, is this in alignment with who I say I am? Is this in alignment with that B part of your framework? And of course, y'all know me, I'm a journal girl, so write it down. If you're a voice notes person, once you notice something, add it to your voice notes. I don't know, just keep track of it, basically. From when you wake up in the morning, just spend a whole day just seeing how you move about your day-to-day life. What are your communication systems like? Oh, I forgot to mention, one of the biggest things too is social media. Who are you following? Whose information exchange are you seeing on a daily basis? So pay attention to all those things, including social media. So the next step you want to do, once you paid attention to the things and you pointed out certain things that aren't in alignment with who you say you are, then you want to correct. And when you're correcting, you want to correct in the moment. With the example of, like, you find yourself in the midst of women and gossiping. Either you say something and say, I don't feel comfortable with this conversation. Is it okay if we switch the topic? Another way to correct it in the moment is to excuse yourself. Say, hey, I'm going to go now. Thank you so much for having me. If you're over at someone's house, I'm just going to head out. See y'all later type thing. The third option is to just change the conversation and say, hey, especially if they're talking about somebody else, hey, I don't think it's appropriate to talk about XYZ if they're not here. And then you change the subject. So those are the three options. Say you're uncomfortable with the conversation and ask if we could change the subject. Second one is to just leave. Third one is to correct those people who are speaking. You should always kind of correct people again, because if you just up and leave and don't correct them, they're going to think it's okay. They're going to continue to do that and have that type of behavior around you. So it's important that you correct people. Just as a good person, as the scripture says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So you wouldn't want someone to be talking about you. So if that person that they're talking about doesn't deserve to be talked about, so you should correct them. Because if you don't, they're going to continue doing that in your absence anyways. So correct things in the moment. With your thoughts, if you are having negative thoughts, it's okay to be real with yourself, right? But just be mindful of the language that you're using. So when you correct in the moment, the third tip is to replace that communication with good or appropriate communication. Because if you just eliminate and you don't replenish, then you're just kind of empty, so to speak, right? The fourth tip is to be patient with yourself. It's gonna be tough, it's gonna be tricky. You've been talking about yourself in this way for however long, however old you are, until you realize that you need to change your communication. You've been listening to this music since you were little. When I was younger, I used to cuss a lot. Sorry y'all, the lighting switched up because the sun is no longer on me. But as I got older, I'm just like, why do I need to cuss, you know? And so that is part of my communication, and people who are around me understand that boundary with me. I communicate that with them, and they know to not cuss around me, because that's just not something that I tolerate. And you know, something in the world that somebody does, but usually when I communicate that with them, they either usually apologize or they just like, you know, say excuse my language, but they are fully aware that that is not something that I tolerate. But I say all that to say it was definitely a tricky transition for me. And it took me years to get to this point, because even when I said I wouldn't tolerate cussing, I was still listening to music that had cuss words in it. Even now, it's kind of difficult to, or not difficult, I'm not going to say that. Y'all see how I corrected? It might be a little tricky to find music that is a little clean, especially like if I like a song that has a positive message but happens to have a couple curse words in it. I try to look for the clean version, and sometimes it's not. So then I just listen to the part that I like until the cussing, and I skip it. You know what I mean? So it's just a matter of what's important to you. Are you holding yourself to the standards that you say that you have? Are you operating in the ways that you are supposed to in terms of who you say you are and who you want to be? Just a matter of checking yourself. Be nice, be kind to yourself, be compassionate, be patient with yourself, because the way you treat yourself is really how you treat other people. So yeah, just know that everyone is on their own individual journey, including yourself. It'll take some time to adjust to this person that you are becoming. I have a bonus tip for you as well. So y'all see how I corrected myself in that moment? There's a great resource my coach shared with me. I talk about my coach a lot. We're gonna get into that in the upcoming weeks. There's more systems to come. So we've done 2 systems so far. There's gonna be 3 more. But great resource, a book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. We go through a lot of negative self-talk through our minds, but also out. We say things are difficult. I have switched that into saying, you know, this is a challenge, but there's a potential solution for it, right? And then things like saying, I'm busy. I don't want to be busy. That's not the life that I want for myself, because busy sounds very hectic to me. Or like people talk about hustling and grinding, and none of those things sound feminine to me, or like just even the life that I want. And so I replace those words with, I have a full day. If you've ever had a conversation with me in person, if you know me, I rarely say busy. Even when people are telling me that they had a busy day, I will respond to them and be like, oh, my day was quite full as well. Like if we're having an exchange, just because someone said they had a busy day, or like, was your day busy? I'll be like, yeah, I had quite a full day actually. So correcting the language. So anyways, I learned things like that from the book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. I don't know if it explicitly taught me that, but it just gave me perspective on how there's so many ways in which we engage in negative self-talk that doesn't really align with where we're headed or who we say we are. So that is a great resource for you. I also have a video that I did a while ago on affirmations and how to make affirmations work for you. So with that tip of replacing it, affirmations are a great way to replace your communication in terms of the thoughts that you're having in your head. If you find yourself engaging in a lot of negative self-talk, then you want to start creating some affirmations to combat those that are very specific and have some actionable steps in them as well. Active affirmations, not just saying that like, and not to bash anyone who uses this affirmation, especially if you need it, not just saying that I am beautiful, but what are the things that make you beautiful, or what are the things that you are doing to affirm your beauty, is a very specific affirmation. And so check out that video if you haven't already. I'm gonna link it up here or in this description box. So yeah, pay attention to your thoughts, the things that you're thinking about yourself. That's why the Be Do Have framework is so important, to continue through with these systems and to support you with your self-development journey, because it is going to be challenging at times, right? And so you're going to go through these cycles that I'm talking about, but hopefully you're taking heed to these tips that I'm sharing with you and you're able to put them in practice. But also the conversations that you're having with yourself is definitely going to be what also pushes you forward and keeps you going, keeps you motivated. If you're having a good, healthy conversation with yourself on a regular basis, with your thoughts, people that you're interacting with, and so on and so forth. All right, that is a wrap for today. I hope that this video supported you. I hope the tips I shared resonate with you and you're able to use them in your day-to-day life. If you want to learn more about how I use these systems and these tips that I share with you on a day-to-day basis, you should definitely join me on Instagram, is where I share more frequently daily self-care and healthy habits and all that good stuff. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share with a friend who you think might also benefit from this, maybe watch it with them as well. Let me know if you enjoyed this mukbang style video. I might do some more of them if y'all are down with it. And of course, if you just want to be a part of the tribe, all you gotta do is subscribe. Make sure that you are staying hydrated, maybe with some watermelon or some actual water. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace and love. So, be, do, have. I don't know how to count with my fingers like that. Be, do, have. I don't even like eating in front of people that I know, let alone on camera.